You can go into somebody's house and overcomplicate so many things. Clients don't want to hear that. I learned how to create a need with clients before I learned how to explain everything and exactly how it worked. So it made me simplify my process. A lot of technicians are like, it's me against the homeowner and they don't believe me. No, it's you not getting to their level and putting yourself in their shoes. You just aren't trusted by them.
Hey, what's up, Waste No Day fans? We have a special treat for you, bringing back a returning guest, friend of the show, and a fabulous person who knows exactly what she is doing. Miss Coral Whale is joining us again. Welcome back, Coral.
Thank you so much. You know, you guys are my absolute favorite.
Yeah, let's just clip that right there, put it on a reel, just spin it up about 2 minutes worth. Yeah, we're good. All right.
Yep.
That was fun. Yeah, good to have you back, Coral. This is the three-peat, yes?
Yep.
The third,
3 or 4.
3 Waste No Day, and then 2 Wiser Wednesday, I believe.
Yep.
Which we got to set that next one up for Wiser too.
Yes.
Those are always a good time. Yeah, a little Q&A from the audience. It's fun. Wiser Wednesday, if you don't know, weekly live training we do. I usually go about 10, 15 minutes and then relieve everyone as I bring a guest on who takes 30 to 45, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end. If you're interested in getting signed on, it's free. service@wastenoday.net. Shoot us an email and we'll get you on the calendar. Cool.
Thanks for that, Brian. And Coral, it is great to have you back on. It's been a while since we've had a guest, and it's been even longer since we've had you on. So it's great to have you on the show today. And we're looking forward to some great topics. We're going to be focused on a number of things, but for sure maintenance, which is just around the corner. As we're recording this right now, where I live in part of the country, we got hammered with 10 to 12 inches of snow and sleet. And I know quite a few of our listener base did as well, since it hit 2/3 of the country. But believe it or not, the snow will eventually melt and we'll be back to 60-degree shoulder seasons, and maintenance will be a big piece of that. So we're looking forward to always diving in deep to make sure that we know how to maximize a maintenance call. And before we get to that part, though, we always like to catch up. It's been a little bit since you've been on the show, and we'd love to hear what's going on with Coral. Some of our audience may not be familiar with you. You've been on twice before, as Brian mentioned. But some of our audience, certainly is familiar with you. So why don't you just kind of like reintroduce yourself to us, and then give us a little bit of an update about what's been going on with you.
Well, I'm Coral, and I specialize in maximizing every single maintenance call I go to. They are absolutely some of the toughest, most low profit calls on every single HVAC's dispatch board. And, you know, the crazy thing about that is they're what we have the most of. So if we can maximize all of those maintenance calls, I mean, really, you don't have to depend on just having service anymore as your primary income. So I specialize in turning every single maintenance call into a profitable call. I did just a little under 3 million on maintenance calls this last year. That includes selling indoor air quality, aero seals, UV lights, 24-volt filters. Of course, you know, everybody always asks me, especially when I make posts about like what I had sold, or I post, you know, Service Titan numbers. Every question on there is always, does that include equipment? Of course it includes equipment. But that is how you actually maximize maintenance calls. You build the value in repair versus replace, or cleanup versus more efficient, and you get installs on the board to keep your install departments happy, running smoothly, and profitable. So doing that all year long, whether we're in shoulder season, a specific maintenance season, you know, our company, the company I work for, we run maintenance specials all year long. We don't just have specific seasons. We hope that we get more maintenance calls than anything because we maximize them. So, you know, other than that, I mean, I had a really good year. It was a record-breaking year. In December alone, we did 400,000 in sales,
Wow.
which is crazy because that's Christmas. It's right after the holidays. It's supposed to be everybody's slowest month of the entire year. And I mean, we just blinked our eyes and had almost $500,000 on the board.
Yeah.
You know, and some days you get really lucky. 2 days ago, I had $100,000 day.
Ooh,
One day.
there we go.
100 grand on the board, booked out. Installers are happy. We're profitable. Marketing went out. We ran commercials during the football game, you know, and so it really does grow the company if you can learn to maximize the crappiest calls on the entire board. So.
Absolutely, Coral. And that's your specialty. And in many ways, that's why you were so impressive from the first moment that we had you on the podcast. Speaking of that, it's been a while since we've learned about your history. What got you into the trades? It's, you know, what it certainly isn't the most common avenue for a lot of females to take. And so just kind of what drove you into getting into turning wrenches and working on HVAC?
So I actually came from the office. So, I mean, I did a lot of stuff to work my way up, obviously, into HVAC. But I started a long time ago as a dispatcher call taker. And I did so well selling maintenance agreements over the phone to existing clients that eventually I found an owner that was like, you're really good at sales and talking to people and explaining how things work. Have you ever considered getting in the field? And it had never really crossed my mind. And then he took me out and took me to Johnstone and gave me a VTech bag and filled it all with tools. And I ran maybe 3 or 4 maintenance calls with the lead technician. And I was in a truck on my own selling anywhere between, I think I sold 100,000 the first week I was in the field by myself. Just, you know, realizing that why don't we have processes and procedures and, you know, to me, never being in the HVAC industry before, seeing an incredibly dirty blower motor, I remember the first client I ever sold to, I was just looked at her in disbelief and I was like, this is disgusting. And she was like, yeah, what are we going to do about it? And I was like, well, I think we can clean it. I'm pretty sure we can clean it. And I think we need a little oil.
I'm pretty sure.
Like I think we might have a filter that'll help you. You know what I mean? But let me call my boss and find out what the solution is here. And we built solutions over the phone and I presented them to her. She signed off on my biggest estimate and it was just, I took off from there. I was like, oh, that was easy. And you're going to pay me for this? You know, all I did was just talk to her about how we could clean her system, what condition it was in prior to me coming, and how happy she'll be after the job is complete. And once I realized that that's like all you truly need to be able to do on a maintenance call to sell them and to make them happy and get those 5-star reviews and like generate profit from that, then it became a no-brainer.
Yeah, see, I think it's that background that's particularly interesting for you, Coral, because I don't mean to insult, but you're basically an industry outsider who ignorantly got into a position with a whole different set of eyes and framework than most people coming through the trades would have. And it just bore out this new methodology or like a new creativity of just conversation around what you're seeing and observing and like, wow, this doesn't seem right. Almost quizzical. Like this can't be the way this is supposed to be. And like, I don't think this is the way this is supposed to look. Like we should probably do something about it. That seems to have really created this success. Do you view that journey as like, would you agree with that from your journey and how you've become so successful over the years?
100%. I almost can't equate it to anything else. Like, you know, it's like these guys come into this industry and they go through all of this schooling and it's like the old gearheads, right? Like they know everything, they've heard every sound, they know exactly what's happening. They want to tell you how the motor runs, what it's connected to, why it's doing that, and all this stuff. Well, like, clients don't want to hear that. Like, they don't care how your stupid inducer motor is pulling in your dumb pressure switch. Like, nobody cares. Like, the client wants to know, like, okay, so you're telling me I have to buy that part and then it'll spin that part and then that'll come on. And I'm like, yeah. And this is what you need to do, and it's like, you can go into somebody's house and overcomplicate so many things. Like, now, do I know exactly how a furnace works? Do I know how to troubleshoot? Do I know how to do refrigerant and install motors? Yes, I do. I learned all of that along the way in the field, but I learned how to create a need with clients before I learned how to explain everything and exactly how it worked. So it made me like really simplify my process. And if you listen to any major sales guru in this industry, in the car sales industry, and anything, they will tell you that you need to dumb it down to a third grade reading level in order to have your clients understand. And I just started with that. Like, I didn't have to back up from like a super complicated diagnostic. I started with just explaining how a blower motor moves air through your furnace and across your coil. And that's it. Like, I don't need to explain, like, does it have windings in it? Like, are the bearings going bad? Like, how is the motor made? Like, I don't have to explain any of that, So I didn't have to unlearn all that stuff.
Yeah, and there's such value. I think there's such value in that, at least where it has gotten you. Not to say that there isn't value in understanding how the system works and all the technical aspects of it, of course, but it is in so many ways how you're communicating things and what the homeowner is really translating in their mind with the words that you're choosing to use. And just to kind of relate this personally, a few years ago, my wife and I did a whole home renovation, which was fairly substantial in nature. We actually moved out of the house for 3 months while they like gutted and tore things out and everything. And obviously, after we selected the original design of the floor plan and all that, where did we spend the most amount of time in the process? Picking out the finishes. What faucet and what towel rack and what sink color and what tile and what flooring and what countertops and what paints and all this stuff. At no point did we wonder, well, I wonder what studs or what type of wood they'll be using for the studs. Or I wonder, I wonder where the return vents are going to be on this wall. Or I wonder where they're going to put the thermostat. And I'm not saying there isn't some value to having these conversations, but the vast majority of an average homeowner, taking myself into that account, is spent on the things that are very surface, very physical, very visual, very touchy-feely, the things that we were going to interact on a day-to-day basis. When the guests come over and they use the powder room, is that a nice mirror? Like, I don't care what's behind the mirror. I don't care about if the wiring was done properly, other than obviously safely and all those types of things. But I care about when they say, wow, you guys picked a really nice wallpaper for that bathroom, right? That's the things that homeowners care about. And if you translate that back into what the home services industry is, like, so many times I feel like technicians get caught up talking about stud design and like the things that build the house, but have very little physical or aesthetic value to a homeowner. And you found a way to like basically key in on the visual and the feeling and the experiential of an HVAC system. As funny as that sounds, because it's very invisible in many ways. We just breathe the air, we feel the heat or the cooling and all that. But it is the most important thing, because those are the things that the client actually cares about, that they actually make decisions upon. And you were able to tap into that mentality and then cater your presentation as such. And so when I like framing that back to you and throwing the question back over to you, as you think through the way that you're presenting things versus, and I know you've done some training, you've probably done some ride-alongs, you've certainly been in some other companies. When you think about the way that you're presenting things compared to like the average Joe, the average technician, maybe even like an above average technician who's doing pretty good, what are some of the biggest stand aparts that make your presentation and that presentation so separate and so different?
I really just try and relate to clients as if it were my own home. I truly do. And I do feel like a lot of people have said that, and a lot of people just roll their eyes when they hear that. But it's like, what would I tell my mom if I were standing in front of her presenting this issue? Right? Like, I don't go up to my clients and just be like, well, the blower motor is doing this and this, and you trashed it because it's super dirty. I frame it as like, okay, we have found a problem. We have the solution. You and me as a client will find the solution together to make you feel better in your home, make your equipment run better, right? Like, one of my really good friends and a very good mentor to me has always said people buy for two reasons: pleasure and pain. That's it. Like, either you are in a very painful moment where you don't have any heat, or you're ready for clean water, and a water softening system would be very pleasurable for you. Like, that's something exciting. So people are buying off of those two emotions: pleasure or pain. If you can find which one they're going to make a purchase because of, it helps you 100% be able to talk to them and figure out why they are truly considering making this purchase. I really do find a lot of success by just being 100% visual. Not only will I show clients pictures, videos from my phone, I have an entire album in my phone of previous work projects that I will pull up right in front of them. And I'm like, look, this is not your coil, but this is a coil that I have recently cleaned, before and after pictures. And then I show them their system. And all of a sudden now we're also getting into like pack mentality. And like, okay, I don't have to feel so bad that my system looks like this because that person's system looked like that. And Coral helps them. Like, she cleaned it up. They're super happy now, 5-star reviews, right? And so now they're trusting, they're ready to hear my options without arguing and thinking I'm trying to really just screw them over and get one over on them. You have to show them that like you truly care about it. Like, I don't think about like them not purchasing a system for me is not going to break my wallet. Like, it's just not. And I also think that like, once you can become either that technician, the maintenance tech, the sales guy, like whatever position you have in the company, if you get to a point in your career where not selling a $20,000 to $30,000 system is like, who cares? Like, there's 2 more calls on me. I don't need that money. Like, I don't need that $3,000, right? Then I'm not there like pulling their teeth out, chopping their heads off, like trying to make a sale. I truly am presenting like solutions that will only benefit them. Yeah, it benefits me to get paid. It benefits my entire company to keep them busy and keep my boss happy and do this and do that. But believe me, $20,000 is hurting nobody, right? And so I don't have to walk into that house like knowing like, okay, if I don't make this sale, I'm not going to eat today. And that all just comes down to consistency. I am like super, super consistent with everything I do. So if I know that I sell 2 out of 3 calls, I'm not having to pull everybody's teeth out to try and get them to buy from me. And I think that clients feel like, I think they're like, she really like, there's been a couple of times lately where I'm like, I don't want this job. Like, I'm not taking it. I'm walking away from it. You are such a pain in the ass. From the beginning of the call to the office, you were a jerk. From the second I walk into your house, you were an asshole. From the second I opened your system, you were mean to me. Like, I don't need your stupid money, right? And then once they see that, they're just like, you know what? Like, she actually does know what she's talking about. And my system is a piece of shit. And I probably should listen to her. And by the end of it, they're forever clients. They're with us forever. They'll trust us forever. They'll use me forever. They'll refer me forever, you know? And so it truly is just building that trust with like consistency and not being desperate.
Yeah, I believe what you're referring to there, Coral, is typically known as the abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality. And it's so important. We've talked about on the show, Brian's mentioned about having dollar sign glasses where you get in that place of just, I need this sale, because you're coming at it from a place of
Right.
desperation. And based upon the fact that you sold $3 million last year, Coral, is it safe to say that, you're doing okay?
Just okay.
Just okay.
Always
Yeah.
We can hold off on the
Just a little
GoFundMe
okay.
for now.
Yeah, no GoFundMe. I don't need any donations. I'm good to go.
All right, good.
You know, but it's like, you know, not only like, am I taken care of? I know that I can go home and sleep at night. Like, I have no regrets ever when I get home. I truly don't. I'm like, you know, half the time I come home and I talk to my husband about it, and I'm like, dude, I just helped the coolest lady. She was freaking amazing, super eclectic, awesome lady, lives out here in the middle of nowhere. Her furnace was complete trash. We're getting her the coolest stuff, right? And we're
No,
going
and
on a
Coral,
motorcycle
she's
ride
coming
with her
over.
next weekend.
She's
You know
coming
what I
over
mean?
for dinner tomorrow. You're
Yeah.
gonna love her.
They do. Seriously, they do. Like, I have a little old lady. Her name is Peggy. Like, she lives like seriously out in the middle of nowhere. I hooked her up with like water treatment, and she has cancer and a whole bunch of health issues and all this stuff. So like, we hooked her up with like a new furnace, a new AC, a whole bunch of IAQ, water treatment, and a whole bunch of stuff. I go on a motorcycle ride with this lady at least 3 times during the summer, and she has spent like $55,000 with me, and she refers me to everybody out in the county. You know, and it's like, I love for her that I was able to help her do that. She had so many technicians in that house before I went there, and nobody, not a single guy. She must have had like 13 dudes in that house before I walked in there. Not one of them mentioned like anything more efficient, cleaning anything, like what could help her sickness, like what could help her feel maybe a little bit better in her house. You know what I mean? And just because I offered it and she was willing to listen to me, you know, she is so happy now. And that just makes me happy. Like, I know what I'm offering clients is something that I have put in my own house. I've seen the results. I've heard the raving reviews from clients. And so I just want to like give it to everybody. I want them to hear me. Like, whether they buy it or not, that's cool too. Like, you don't have to buy anything from me. I'm just educating you on what you could have. It's your decision if you want to purchase it or not. It's no sweat, truly, off my back. But these are really cool, and this is what will benefit you, and this is how it works, and I really think you should consider it. You know, and literally, like how I just said that, that's exactly how I talk to my clients. That's exactly
That was great, wasn't it? Wasn't that warm, Nate?
You know?
Didn't you feel like you'd probably be
Yes.
like, all right, let's hear a little bit more, right? I don't feel like
You
I'm
know?
being sold. I don't feel like you're trying to beat me into submission with jargon that I don't understand, but you do, which is a tactic that I don't think consciously or purposely necessarily we're using it, but a lot of technicians who, no fault of our own, typically, like we go through, particularly in HVAC, you know, they're not getting started the way you did. They're getting started by going into a trade school where an instructor is beating them to death with technical jargon for 2 years. And then they're joining a company where they're an apprentice or even a shop tech or a part runner or something. And all they're hearing about for the next year is parts and warranties and equipment. And then they're getting plucked out of there and dropped into a client's kitchen and going, now sell, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
all they know is stats and figures and specs. And then they oftentimes can dazzle a client with their technical knowledge and get things done. But for the most part, We don't like that. We don't like people speaking languages that we don't understand while they're trying to essentially what we feel like is get money from us. And the way you went about saying that was almost like you were, your first language is sales. Your second language is technical, or your first language is the client's language, and your second language is the tech language. And then the way you said it with such empathy and belief was very disarming. Wish I could master that, although it was better coming from a woman.
Yeah, it can be, and it truly is just one of those things where like, you really do have to care in HVAC if you want to sell, right? If you want to be that person that everybody depends on, like my owner depends on me, the install crews depend on me, the marketing team, they're depending on me to make sure that those dollars are coming back so that they can market more. The client's depending on me to put in the right size equipment with the correct products that will actually help them, right? And so, a lot of technicians see somebody like myself and they're like, I want to do that. But do you really? Because I really do think that if you truly did want to do that and become like the absolute best person in the entire company, you can. It's just like, how much are you willing to be dependent on, right? Like, are you willing to go a week or two with no money? A lot of people can't do that. Like, I have technicians that make like $20 to $30 an hour that I know of that bitch and moan and complain about having no jobs. But the second the jobs are there, they're the first ones to call off, or they want to be home at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, right? Like, I don't get a paycheck. Like, I have to go out and make money for somebody else in order for me to get paid. I don't get to just go to the office anymore and sit there and get paid at the end of the week, and so I have to do it ethically. I have to relate to the clients. I have to make the company happy. I have a lot of shit that I have to do in order to be so successful. And a lot of people just kind of look at me like, whatever, like, you're lying to customers, you're treating them unfairly, you're being dishonest with them. Like, no, I'm not. I just didn't tell them how a blower motor physically works before I told them that their system needed to be cleaned, which your company didn't do, and you've been out there for the last 15 years. So who's wrong? Like, you're wrong for not putting in the hours, the effort, the time, the sweat, like busting into a coil, every single coil that you go to, whether you think you can get into it or you can't, like, get into that coil. It comes back to being consistent. Like I had said in the very beginning, like, if you want to be good at maintenance, you have to be good at consistency. That's all there is to it. You should run every maintenance call the same way. You should talk about the blower motor the exact same way. You should quote out everything that you're quoting as a beginning maintenance tech should all be the exact same thing. Like, and you don't get to start selling, obviously. Like, I think a lot of companies have a stop place, in line with this, but like, you don't get to just be a maintenance tech who sells equipment. Like, you have to sell blower motors first before you can sell, like, if you can't ask for $700 for a blower motor, then you're not allowed to ask for $20,000 for a system. You're just not allowed to do that. So until you sell 100 blower motors with pull-in cleans and 24 volt filters, you don't get to talk to me.
So Cora, I want to push back on something you said there.
As a company, why would you trust the potential of a sale that big in the hands of somebody who's not trustworthy with a 3-digit sale, right? You're talking several $100s. Right. You're really unable to secure that regularly. So putting a 5-figure job in your hands would be a massive mistake. You're a second string quarterback who fumbles every time he touches the ball. You're not getting that ball.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Coral, reflecting upon what you were talking about there, and the reason I asked about the abundance mentality versus scarcity mentality is some people might say, well, yeah, sure, it's easy for you, Coral. You're probably banking somewhere between 250 and 350 a year. You know, if I had that type of money, I too could walk away from sales. But that's not me. I'm not making that. And so I got to get what I get when I have the opportunity to get it. So, kind of putting yourself in those shoes, and maybe you could reflect upon a time where you were not quite so living an abundant lifestyle, or your income was not quite so free. Was there a time when you were operating out of a scarcity mindset, or perhaps you slipped into it at some point? And it could just $300,000 a year or whatever it is. I don't know how much you make, but just doing some math off of your sales numbers, that's a good living. That's a good living. Not a lot of people in the HVAC industry are making that type of living. And so some people, in fact, I would argue that a lot of HVAC techs or plumbers and electricians, tradespeople in general, are living paycheck to paycheck. And I know that because I know their stories. I hear their stories, and the child support, and the this, and the hobby, and the car payment, and blah 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 blah. Which that's subject matter for another episode probably. But if I am living paycheck to paycheck and I don't have a lot of free income to walk away from a sale, how am I supposed to operate in an abundance mentality and not get those dollar sign glasses while still truly serving the client?
Kind of answered his own
down
question at the end there, didn't he, Cora?
a little bit,
While
but at the same
while
time,
still truly serving the client, it was like, well, you just took your focus from one thing and put it to the other, which was the answer to your own question. Like if you're
I was like, wait, if you take care of the client, then the sales will come, right? I mean, that goes hand in hand. So, and like, to truly zero in on Nate's question about him wanting me to like reflect upon a time, like, I didn't just jump into this industry and start making all of this money. Like, it took me a long time, but at the same time, like, I wasn't the person wanting to be off at 2 p.m. Like, I ran every single call that came my way. And then when I got home, I got on the internet and I did training, and I did a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that like I was better than I was today, and I'm going to be better than the top guy at my company tomorrow. And I put in the work to be that person, to make that money. You know what I mean?
There's a whole lot of service techs who were all in on this episode until right now. And it's like, well, hold on. I want off it too.
You have to put the work
and
in.
No way I'm getting home and studying this after work. They should pay me to do that at the shop. Please go on, Coral.
It's crazy because like, I did live in a very like scared type of mentality for a while, but it wasn't because of the money. It was because I used to work for some really crappy companies that I would fear for my job every day. So if we didn't go out and sell, and sell whatever they wanted us to, even if it didn't make sense, then we were scared to lose our jobs. And I was like, I am really sick and tired of feeling like that, because I think like I have always been such a go-getter, like in anything I've ever done, like whether it's like coming from the medical field, even as a bartender or a server, like whatever I was tackling at any moment in my life, like I was going to do it better than anybody. And money has never, don't get me wrong, I have lived paycheck to paycheck. I have almost been homeless. I have been in the gutter. Like, I remember several Christmases that I could not afford presents. Like, I have been there. But at the same time, I have always made it work. Like, I have always gone out there and gotten my money and grinded harder than anybody else to be able to pay my bills, put food on the table, make sure that my daughter had Christmas next Christmas, And so the money never scared me. I was like, look, if this shit don't work out, I'll go do something else. Like, I will get mine, right? But always being scared of losing my job is what I hated the absolute most. And once I learned that if I could become the most valuable employee at any company I worked for, then I would never have to fear for my job, whether I didn't sell for 3 weeks straight or if I sold everything to everybody and I had $100,000 days. Like, I needed to be the most valuable person because I wanted them to know that you can't get rid of me. Like, you might want to, and you might, you know, it might be time to, to part ways or whatever, because I haven't sold anything for 2 weeks, but you can't let me go because I'm the best there is. And so that was what I decided to do for myself. And then the money just came. I didn't have to sell anymore. I was just happy knowing that I got to wake up and go and like help people and train technicians and put more money in their pockets and make the installers happy and then make my owners happy. And then know that at the end of the day, if I didn't sell anything, don't worry about it, Coral. You're a fucking beast. You're going to get them tomorrow, as opposed to you suck. Get out of my company. I don't ever want to talk to you again. And so that's why I changed my thinking. That's why I came home and I studied. And that's why I've invested in my future and knowing, like, I need to know how these filters work. Do they work? What are the studies on them? I need to know how the UV lights work. If I sell this to somebody, are they going to be happy with it? That's why I study, so that I feel right going home and sleeping at night knowing I did the right thing, and nobody can take that away from me.
See, and what you're talking about there, Coral, is obviously working for a team and being part of a company that values you, that has, obviously the same alignment. We did an episode about core values not too long ago, principles, how they conduct themselves, and is able to walk out the balance of sales well, because there's an element of pressure. Like, there's numbers to hit, and there's close rates and average ticket and service titan kicks out all these stats on that stuff. But there's the balance of it too, which is like, humans are humans and they're not going to perform like machines. And the fact that they had a fight with their spouse this morning is going to impact probably one of their calls today or their entire day. And the fact that their kid, just got in a fight with another kid at school is going to impact that. And like, all these things are going on. So there's this amazing and weird and yet really detailed method of balancing sales and humans together. It's almost a collaboration between the frontline people and the back end office and the homeowner, and really coming up with a healthy environment for that to happen. Some might call it culture, but that collaboration, I think, is also reflected upon something that you said earlier when you were talking about how you present to a homeowner. You're frequently using the words, or at least you did use the words, we, right? You're shoulder to shoulder with the homeowner, where I think so many technicians find themselves being shoulder against shoulder, or like nose to nose, or fist to fist. And yet you consistently position yourself as shoulder to shoulder. So talk to us a little bit about the collaboration that you do with the homeowner when you're going to solve problems, because I hear you saying it's not me against the homeowner and the homeowner against me. It's me and the homeowner against the situation.
Right. And that's exactly what it is. It's me involving the homeowner, showing them where things went wrong, and letting them know, like, look, like, you're not the only one who's been through this. Don't think that I'm judging you. Like, I have a million pictures in my phone of systems that are 80 times worse than yours. This is solvable, and we can do it together. We have great payment plans. Like, we have a good solution for you. We are going to fix this. We are going to take care of you in the future. And you're right. Like, I do feel like a lot of technicians are like, it's me against the homeowner, and they don't believe me, and they don't want to buy from me, and they're mean, and this and that. No, it's you just not getting to their level and like putting yourself in their shoes. Like, you need to be able to relate to them, you know what I mean? And so they're not against you. You just aren't trusted by them, and that's your fault. But that's fixable. Like, you can fix that. And you don't even have to go home and you don't have to go home and train on indoor air quality, like whatever, like that's not for some people, fine, who cares? But you could go home and like read a psychology book. Like you could figure out like a better way for you to like feel empathetic or sympathetic for somebody and their situation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about just like going and figuring out how a blower motor works and then how to sell it on every single call. Like, why don't we start figuring out as an industry, like how to take care of people and relate to them better, you know? Because if you did that, I really do think that everybody would not feel like the homeowner is against you. Like now you're coming up with solutions with the homeowner. They're involved. And really, like after they invest so much money, like how are we going to protect your system? This is what we're going to do. This is our game plan. They don't just want to spend $30,000 and then not have a game plan moving forward, you know, and that's where maintenance agreements come in, right? And so you're like, look, like we are going to make sure that you are taken care of for the next 5 years so that this doesn't happen to you again. Like even if you don't like me, I'm still going to come here for the next 5 years, 2 times a year, and I'm going to make sure your filters are changed, your ducts are staying clean, you're happy, your airflow is good, everything. And that's where the maintenance agreement's coming, you know? And so like I don't like spending $20,000 anywhere really, unless I either know how it's going to benefit me in the future. Is it worth the investment? And how am I going to not be in this painful situation ever again? Like, who's going to take care of me the most, right? And if you're the company that just so happens to explain how you're going to take care of somebody better than the last company, then that client is going to be your client forever. You know?
Coral, I know for sure. And I appreciate you sharing your background, and I think that's very good context for what I want to go to next, which is why do you think, Brian, you mentioned something earlier. You said like there's 2 different languages. You know, people who are bilingual still have a primary language and then they have a secondary language. Their primary language is typically the native tongue that they grew up with, and then perhaps they picked up or they learned along the way, or they had one of their parents spoke a secondary language, which they also happen to learn. But you know, they say I think your primary language is the one that you dream in, right? Whatever your dreams are in, and certainly the one that you speak most fluently. And so I think in many ways, people, like you said, Brian, the primary language of a technician is technese, you know, Tekanese, right? Like it's focused on the blower motors and the capacitors and all those types of things, those technical terms. And, you know, good technicians have learned to adapt as a secondary language, customerese, right? And the really good ones have been able to translate that over top of the Tekanese so they can actually speak to the homeowner. You know, Coral, it kind of sounds like perhaps your primary language always was the customer's language, and then you adapted technical language as your secondary, but you were always able to converse. You dreamt in customer language, right? And then you easily communicate that way too. For the majority of the listeners whose primary language is Tekanese, like they grew up thinking and dreaming about blower motors and capacitors and all those technical terms. How do you encourage them to, like, where do they even start, right? Like, do we need to come out with some type of Rosetta Stone for technicians, you know, in terms of like, hey, let's let's learn this new language, because it's like so primary. In fact, there's a level of confidence, I think, that comes with the ability to say, well, let me explain your system to you. And right. And we're just going to go down this super technical path, and the homeowner's eyes are glazing over and they're gone. Right. But like there's an element of confidence that comes with it, sort of like a doctor. Like I have to explain what a cardiothoracic such and such is and what that term means and why it's important, this procedure and that whatever, because that's my schooling and this is what you're paying for. And you know what? Some of the best doctors in the world, they can get away with it. But a lot of doctors, if they don't have that bedside manner, lose the patient, even if they knew what they were talking about. So how can we make sure that our HVAC technicians, and really all tradespeople who've grown up in the trade and speak that as their first language have better bedside, or in this case, tableside manner?
So I think that if you are having a problem really breaking down solutions into a third grade reading level, you need to have some sort of like checklist where, for example, like my maintenance checklist has every motor in layman's terms. So it'll very easily tell you, it'll say something like this. It'll say blower motor, and then it'll have 4 check boxes underneath it, right? Clean, leaking grease and oil, not reading to manufacturer specs, and then it'll have good, like your blower motor is good, right? And then right under the blower motor label, it'll say something in layman's terms, third grade reading level. The blower motor is the heart of the system, and it is pushing the air through your home. That's it. Like, that is literally how I explain a blower motor to a client. This motor right here in particular is moving all of the airflow through your venting system. The end. Like, I am not talking about specs. I'm not talking about windings. I'm not talking about bearings. I'm not talking about speeds. I'm not talking about variables and ECMs and constant torque and I'm not talking about any of that shit. This motor moves your air. That's it. This inducer airs out everything from the toxic gases upon fire up. And the way it does that is it pulls in this switch right here that ignites the gas, right? That's it. Like, I'm not talking about all of that crazy stuff. When it comes to coils and air conditioners, when I'm talking about the outside, I started doing this thing recently where I'm like, I'll ask my clients, like, do you know what that does out there? And they're like, well, yeah, it's like this crazy thing that, like, you know, you have to clean it, and I cover it, and like I think it's my AC. And I'm like, no, it's just a compressor, dude. All it does is pump refrigerant from there to there. That's it. It just compresses. It's a compressor. That's all. That's it. Like, you don't need to talk about windings and bearings and it being grounded out and like ohms and this and that or whatever. It's just, it is compressing your refrigerant from the outside unit to the inside unit. And then all of these little horseshoe coils on here, they get really cold. And then your blower motor kicks on and it pushes all of that air through the coil. That's it. That's all they need to know. I love clients that do want to get a little bit more technical, because now it's time to, like, okay, they want to get more into it. They truly are interested to know, like, how those motors work. Like, you have your engineers, they always want to know. They want to get into CFMs and airflow and this and that. Great, let's do that. I understand that. But Miss 80-year-old Betty Smith doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. She wants her AC back, and she wants it now, and she wants it in the least painful way possible while being treated fairly, right? And so she doesn't need to know all of that stuff. So if you're looking for like a more simple way to explain motors or how something works, seriously, like, get onto ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, like, what does a blower motor do? And it will come up with like 2 sentences. Like,
ask it in.
Not give you a gigantic explanation of how a motor works.
Ask it in.
You know,
in an easy to use analogy. Actually, let's do it right now. In an easy to understand analogy, how does an HVAC blower motor work? Think of an HVAC blower motor like your lungs, plus a box fan working together. The furnace or AC makes the hot or cold air. That's like your body making oxygen-rich air. But none of that matters unless it actually moves. The blower motor is the muscle that pulls air in, pushes it across the heating or cooling coils, then shoves it through the ductwork, and out into every room. Same way your lungs pull air in.
That's it.
Your diaphragm works and gets air pushed back out so the oxygen actually reaches your body. Go on for another 2 short paragraphs, but that's enough. Right? Simple analogy. And we've been talking about for 5 years, we've been talking about analogies on this show being, I would say, of all the things that we've talked about on this show, probably the best selling technique that's ever been discussed on this show is breaking down complicated things that we have to talk about, relating them to very easy to understand things that the clients deal with in their regular lives, like the maintenance call and the doctor's visit. That thing just goes together like so easily that everyone understands it. At least I hope everyone uses it, because it makes a lot of sense. And especially when you're like I was, every plumbing call I ever ran in the later part of my career became a maintenance call, not like naturally progressed into, but I was doing a maintenance call on every single plumbing call I ran. Didn't care if it was 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday and a clogged toilet in a mobile home. They were getting a maintenance call done. I was flushing their water heater. I was pulling the anode rod. I was pulling the tank lids off the toilets. Everything was getting checked. And part of it is like, they'd say, well, no, you don't have to do that. You need to get home to your family. And it's like, I'm like, what do you think the doctor would say if you sat down in the doctor's office and the nurse went to wrap the thing around your arm and blow it up, and you said, you don't have to take the time to test my blood pressure, and you can put that stethoscope back in your lab coat pocket, doc, because you don't need to take that much time. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't have you in there, right? This is just part of me being here. I will know that your system is in tip-top shape. And if it's not, I'll show you some ways we can put it there. If it's not something you want to do, no problem whatsoever. I'll get home early and you'll get back to bed, right? So using those kind of analogies, and that's probably the biggest gimme one, except maybe for the electricians. I love Jamie Mellinger used to do this all the time, which was, he talked about surge protection like the airbag in the car, right? Yeah. You've never needed it.
Yeah.
You didn't even know you didn't have one, much like an airbag in the car, until you actually need one. And then, boy, are you glad you have it, right?
See, and I feel like a lot of technicians, like when they do get like really technical, like Nate is saying, I feel like it's those guys that are not using any analogies at all, ever. Like, why is it the most successful people in our industry, like the 4 of us sitting here, right? Or the 4 of us, the 3 of us sitting here. I saw me on the screen and I was like, there's 3 of us. That was pretty interesting. Right?
We talked about this before the show, but Coral has a light blinding her. So she was a little confused.
Yeah. So I was like, the 4 of us, the 3 of us here, like, we're very successful. Like, a lot of the gurus out there right now, they're all very successful. But even if you go to like any of their trainings, they're always talking about analogies. They're talking about what to say and what not to say, and I relate everything back to cars. Like, everybody in their life has, most our clients have owned a car. They have bought a car. They have had to get an oil change. You know what I mean? Like I've never had to have a lung transplant or anything crazy. Like, I'm actually like not, like, I know how the body works and stuff, but I haven't had like a whole bunch of medical issues. So it's hard for me to relate HVAC stuff to medical stuff because I get all up in my head about it. I'm like, is that right? Like, do the lungs do that? Or like, or are they doing something with red blood cells? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And then like, I'm so confused. But like, I don't know what's going on half the time. So like, I always relate everything to cars. I'm like, well, and I tell all my clients this too. I'm like, look, like, you could buy $100,000 truck and then never take it to get a maintenance or an oil change, and it's going to be a piece of shit within 5 years. Or you can go and you can buy a 20-year-old Honda Civic and love that thing like you have never loved anything before, and it's probably going to run for another 30 years. It just all depends on how you take care of stuff. Indoor coils are just like radiators. You know what I mean? Like fuel pumps are just like compressors. Like it's all, so I try and relate everything back to cars too. And what's crazy is I don't even know cars. I just know that I have a truck. And I know that I have to go and get it maintenance. Like I still don't know anything about cars and like how things work, but I do know what things look like. And I do know that if you don't get maintenance on that shit, it's not going to be good for that engine. Right. And so that's kind of like my analogy. I think everybody needs to like figure out what they should be relating things to when you're speaking to clients. And I really do think that like also helps break things down into a third grade type of if you can start comparing that stuff, and then the other thing too is like, what do you not say to clients? Like if you're going to be consistent, then you also have to learn how to consistently not do things, right? Like it's really easy to say, well, like I'm super consistent on selling blower motors. I'm super consistent on explaining this to the clients. I'm super consistent with my paperwork. Well, how about being consistent on not saying something? Get yourself consistent on not using the word financing. Like, let's be more consistent on using friendlier terms. How about
what are some
like,
we're big on the promotional plan here. What are some friendly terms you'll use for that?
Payment plan. Like a lot of people want to call it like budget friendly options and this and that. It's a payment plan. It's a really nice payment plan with super simple interest. That's it. Like if you start saying like, oh, we have the most amazing budget friendly option for a low monthly interest payment, blah 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 blah, like that's too much. Like you've said too much. It's just a really friendly payment plan with a very low interest rate. That's it. And finding and like contract, right? Like I consistently do not say contract. Mm-hmm. Like that just sounds brutal to me. Like,
binding.
I do not want to sign that. Yeah, like I am not signing that. Like I was going to sign an agreement, right? I was going to put my name on a proposal, but I am not signing that contract. That just sounds way too harsh,
Not without talking to my attorney.
I consistently don't say that. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? But like, if you're going to be consistent, like also be consistent to not say stuff and do things, like consistently put your shoe covers, right? Like the little things, it's the little things. Like you are a guest in somebody's home. Like, yeah, you are the professional and they did call you there, but regardless, no matter what house you're in or who you're dealing with, you are a guest in their home. You need to ask permission sometimes. Like a lot of people are like, don't ask permission. That shows that you're weak. Like that shows that you don't know. Like that doesn't. That shows respect, right? I'm giving them respect. I'm not downplaying myself by asking them if I could turn on their thermostat. I'm showing them respect in their home, right? And so it's like, I think a lot of people get caught up in like, well, I did this training and I was told never to do this and you shouldn't do that. It makes you look weak. Like if you don't feel weak in a home, then you're not weak in a home. Like if you're walking into that house and being super timid and not knowing like what you're talking about and just trying to sell somebody something, they can smell that from a mile away. Like you still need to be assertive, but you also need to be respectful of people's space. And so it's like it just all goes together. It's so hard. It truly is. Like the more I'm on Waste No Day episodes and I talk to you guys about it, I'm like, why do I sell things? Like, I don't even know why this is fun. Like, it's really hard. It's really tough to do. Thinking about it, you're like, well, I can't say this and I can't say that. And I said this.
Yeah, David Sandler of
and like, it's hard.
David Sandler of Sandler Training always said that sales is a Broadway show put on by a psychologist. And it really does feel like that. You've got your rehearsing and your training and you're memorizing your lines, and then you're sitting there in real time analyzing the entire audience and changing up your lines based on their responses. And even more so, the better you get based on the movement of their eyebrows or cheeks or lips or lack thereof, or what they're doing with their hands. And it really is I would say it's a difficult business to master, but very few things are more worthwhile to master than becoming an excellent communicator. And because an excellent communicator is going to do, they're going to do whatever they want in life at the end of the day. The sky's the limit.
I do think that that's what sales are too. I think sales is just about communication. I really do. Like if you can communicate something, if you can communicate why it would benefit somebody, if you could communicate why it wouldn't benefit somebody, if you could just communicate better, like that's all that sales is. It's just communication.
Yeah,
it's just transfer of belief. And I've said that
let's look at the
many
difference.
times.
Right, it's the difference between the way Coral essentially asked for the order earlier when she said, and I really think that you should take a look at this, right? I really think that you should try this. Very empathetic, very soft, but advancing the sale, so to speak, right? Versus the technician, the service tech, who's all technical, very little people skills. And he would argue with me for saying that because people love me, bro. It's like, not the way you need them to, right? Your boys like hanging out with you by the bonfire, but the client just can't figure out what it is, but doesn't trust you that much. And the difference would be the way Coral delivered that line with empathy and a human touch that's all but unmatched on this show. I mean, that was I can't wait to listen to this episode and loop that part a little bit. But versus the standard service tech who's going to say, this is what I would recommend we do moving forward or something like that. It's very robotic. It's very unanimated and emotionless. And it doesn't feel like you care about me or my situation when you deliver it like that, even if you kind of do. And let's face it, you probably don't, but you can deliver it in such a way that feels like you do. And you can actually, like Coral said earlier, read a psychology book, right? Even if it's just Influence, which is more of a sales book, but Dr. Robert Cialdini, who's on the show before, Influence is essentially the Bible on persuasion and selling and the psychology that goes into it. He is the head of psychology at Arizona State University. And he poured everything he knew about it and then went and did all these surveys and studies to get more info into this book. And it's a perfect book for exactly this, but not just doing things to make it seem like we're feeling for the client, but taking a genuine interest in the client and genuinely caring about how they feel about things, what they think about things, what things you have in your truck or at the shop that could change the quality of their home or change the way they enjoy their home. And, we should have just lists of things that we offer that do this for the home, do that for the home, do this for the family, based on things they're telling you throughout that warm up and discovery process. And then when we do deliver them, because we're thinking in those terms, we will deliver them with empathy. We will seem human when we bring it up. My dog is going nuts trying to get in the store right now. If it's getting loud, I apologize.
Well, Cora, I think you did an excellent job at explaining right in many different ways what communication means. And you do it in such a way that it almost comes across as like simple, so simple that like I'm missing it. Like this is all that it is. Like You just say those things and you just, translate
Yeah.
this technical, like, but that is the skill. That is the skill that is communication. When a high level communicator is speaking, they are able to communicate in such a way that you like, it's like watching an artist paint. You're watching Bob Ross and it's just like, hey, we're just going to put some trees on here. We're just going to do some mountains. I'm like, well, that looks super easy. I mean, all he's doing is you just got a sponge out here. What is this, finger painting? And then I go over to like attempt that on a piece of
Yeah.
paper, and it literally looks like a 5-year-old tried to do painting, right? Because like
Yeah.
Bob Ross translated artistry in such an expert way that he made it look so simple. You've communicated communication in such an expert way that it sounds so simple, but you've left us with so many principles and ideas as to how we can improve ours. I think some of the fundamental ways are stop being so technical, start using customer homeowner language as your primary way of speaking. You can still be confident in what you know, and that you do know how the system works, and that you know all the ins and outs and the X's, O's and the wires and the, all these different things about the system. You can still be confident in that as how you have legitimacy to talk about the system, but don't talk about that to the homeowner. They assume that you know what you're talking about. They assume that you have credibility. And it's only really in the engineer or somebody of like that level that would really care about your bona fides going any farther when you start throwing around trade terms. So man, focus on that, learning that customer language and using that as the primary focus. And then work your way through other areas of collaboration with the homeowner, getting shoulder to shoulder, really working together with them to defeat the problems that you're seeing, or to overcome the obstacles, or to work together for a better, more cleaner air system. All these things are collaborative in nature. And Coral, I think you did such an excellent job at conveying so many things to us today. It's been a great reminder for me, I think for our listener base as well, of the value that can be built in the maintenance call, and the value that you, dear listener, should be attributing to that type of call. So whether you're listening to this and it's February or March, or maybe you're listening to this later on and it's 60 degrees out and there's no demand and there's no urgency and all the systems are running just fine, you have opportunity in the form of a maintenance call that you're headed to right now. And don't forget that. Coral, it's been great to have you on. If people are interested in learning more about you or about any of the things that you talked about today, if they just want to, I don't know, chew the fat a little bit with you and some of the things that you brought up today, is there a good place to get connected with you?
Yeah, I am usually pretty decent about reading, and it's just really fast for me. Hit me up on Facebook Messenger. They can also email me. I do have, it's coralwhale30@gmail.com. I don't check that one all the time, but when I do, I will bulk answer all of my emails. And so I'm not ignoring you. I do get really busy. Don't forget that I am a technician out in the field, just like you. I work long nights. I'm up early. I'm running meetings. I'm helping companies. So if I don't answer you back right away, please know that I'm not an asshole. I really love hearing success stories, and I will try and answer all of the questions I can. It's one of the reasons why I came onto the show tonight, for real. Like, I have been getting nothing but like, I have heard you on Waste No Day. Can you please point me in a good direction? How do you stay consistent? Like, what are you doing on maintenance calls? Can you talk to me more about that? I hit Brian up and I said, we need to get me on there. Let's talk about maintenance and maintenance only. Let's do it again. And let's start answering some of these questions that I'm getting emails about. And I will try and address questions, comments, and concerns any way I can. Like, I'm here to help. I'm here to support definitely females in the trades. I'm also here to help guys that really do want to like get better, like for the client specifically, but for yourself, right? Like be able to like help your clientele base better, and like your life will change on its own. And that's what I'm here for. Like, I love helping the people that want to be helped.
Coral is in Blue Collar Closer.
It's a great place to let it.
Well, you can find her in there. We got to get you doing one of the
Oh, I am.
Thursday Q&As here pretty soon. Dylan Moya came on and did one with me last week. Actually, as we record this, Logan Altland, the $3 million electrician, will be hosting the Thursday Q&A this week. But part of being in Blue Collar Closer is 4 live calls a week. So you have 2 Monday and Wednesday evening live role play. You have Wiser Wednesday morning, and then Thursday Q&A with me or a guest speaker every Thursday evening. So yeah, get up in there, bluecollarcloser.com.
Well, Coral, it's been great to have you on this show.
My favorite.
Thanks so much for coming back on with us. It's been great to catch up with you. And as always, you brought the heat. We're going to leave it here for this episode, and we hope that you have enjoyed it. If you did, reach out to Coral. Let her know that this was fantastic. She gave her information, and she'd love to hear from you. It's always encouraging when you're a guest on a show and you're just kind of speaking to the two of us, and, you're speaking to a screen. You're not getting that feedback other than us. We always love to encourage you to encourage them, right? That's an encouragement to us, but we hear it, and I know that our guests would love that the same. So let Coral know that you found her episode valuable. Share it around to somebody who could really use the same type of encouragement or advice in their life, especially with shoulder season brewing, as it always is. It's a seasonal industry that the HVAC technicians are in, and so there's always a season of shoulders/maintenances around the corner whenever you're listening to this, and I think Coral brought really great content for that. We're going to leave it there with our weekly challenge, which continues to be the same: to choose to wake up each and every morning and waste no day.